March 18th, 1945. 9:15 a.m. A frozen hillside near Nieder-Wurzbach, Germany. Snow clings to the ground. Breath hangs in the air like smoke. First Lieutenant Jack L. Treadwell, commanding Fox Company, 180th Infantry Regiment, presses his face into the icy earth as machine gun fire rakes the open slope. 8 of his men lie dead or dying, cut down in seconds trying to cross the same ground. The Germans, dug into the Siegfried Line's concrete pillboxes, have interlocking fields of fire, barbed wire, mines, and snipers cover every approach. Artillery shells cannot crack the 2-foot-thick walls. Treadwell watches. Another attempt fail. His company is stalled, unable to advance. The bunkers dominate the terrain, 6 of them, mutually supporting, pouring fire that pins the Americans down. Casualties mount, then Treadwell stands up. Alone. No orders. No backup. He grabs grenades and his Thompson submachine gun and starts walking straight toward the first bunker. Bullets snap around him. Tracers streak past. He keeps moving. At the first pillbox, he fires into the embrasure, tosses grenades inside. Germans scream. For surrender. Hands raised. 1 lies dead. He sends the prisoners back. 10 continues to the next bunker, and the next. 1 man against 6 fortified positions. Machine guns, rifles, and artillery target him alone. He reaches each one. Forces surrender or kills the occupants. Captures more prisoners. How does one officer, in broad daylight, cross open ground under heavy fire? Assault 6 concrete bunkers single-handedly, and live. This is the shocking defiance of a moment where leadership became solitary fury. A lieutenant who refused to let his company die. Pinned down, turning the tables on an impregnable line with nothing but grenades, a submachine gun, an unbreakable will. To grasp why this moment carried such weight, consider the broader context of early 1945 on the Western Front. The Allies had broken out of Normandy the previous summer, liberated France, and pushed into Germany by fall 1944. But the Germans still held the Siegfried Line, a vast network of concrete pillboxes, dragon's teeth, anti-tank obstacles, barbed wire, and trenches. Stretching along the German border, it was designed to bleed Allied advances and buy time for counteroffensives like the Ardennes attack Battle of the Bulge in December 1944. By March 1945, the Bulge had been contained, and Allied forces resumed the push into Germany. The 7th Army, including the 45th Infantry Division, Thunderbird, attacked through the Saar region toward the Rhine. The 180th Infantry Regiment faced entrenched Hermann defenses, remnants of the Wehrmacht and SS units fighting desperately to hold the line. The Siegfried Line's pillboxes were formidable. Reinforced concrete, low-profile slits for machine guns, often MG-42s firing 1,200 rounds per minute, and overlapping arcs that made frontal assaults suicidal. Fox Company, under Treadwell, was tasked with clearing a sector near Nieder. The ground was open, snow-covered, with little cover. German fire had already halted the advance. 8 soldiers killed in one attempt to rush a single pillbox showed the cost of direct assault. Company-level attacks stalled. Artillery was ineffective against buried concrete. Jack Treadwell, 27 years old from South Carolina, was a combat veteran, wounded earlier, returned to duty. Known as steady and aggressive, he had earned a Distinguished Service Cross in prior actions. On this day, with his company pinned and casualties rising, he made the decision to act alone. He carried grenades Mk2 fragmentation and his Thompson submachine gun 45 ASP 20, or 30-round magazines. Effective in close quarters, no flamethrowers or demolitions, just standard infantry weapons. The event mattered because breaking the Siegfried Line was essential to reaching the Rhine and ending the war in Europe. A stalled battalion could delay the entire corps' advance. Treadwell's solo clearance opened the way, allowed his company to move forward, and captured prisoners who provided intelligence. It exemplified the kind of individual initiative that cracked fortified positions when combined arms struggled. His actions were witnessed by surviving men in his company and later confirmed in after-action reports. The Medal of Honor citation details how he assaulted 6 pillboxes, forcing surrender or killing occupants, capturing 18 Germans, and enabling the advance without further heavy losses in that sector. This incident highlights the brutal reality of late-war fighting in Germany. Static defenses, high casualties, and moments where one man's courage could shift the battlefield. March 18, 1945, 9:15 a.m. Open slope approaching the Siegfried Line near Nieder-Wurzbach, Germany. The air is sharp with frost. Snow crunches under boots. First, Lieutenant Jack L. Treadwell crouches behind a low-rise, Thompson's submachine gun in hand, grenades clipped to his belt. His company, Fox Company, 180th Infantry Regiment, 45th Division, lies pinned. Machine gun fire from 6 concrete pillboxes rakes the ground ahead. Barbed wire glints in the pale light. Dragon's Teeth anti-tank obstacles block vehicle support. 8 men already dead from a failed rush on the first bunker. Treadwell watches the tracer arcs. The pillboxes squat, gray, 2 foot thick, reinforced concrete, sit in echelon, each covering the others. MG-42 machine guns chatter at 1,200 rounds per minute, spitting 7.92 millimeters rounds in long bursts. Snipers pick at anything that moves. Artillery has been called, but the shells detonate harmlessly on the buried structures. He stands, alone. No covering fire, no squad assault. He signals his men to hold position, then starts walking forward upright, deliberate. Bullets snap past his ears, kick snow at his feet. He does not run. He walks straight toward the nearest pillbox, about 150 yards away. The Germans spot him. Fire intensifies. MG-42s traverse. Rifles crack from firing slits. Treadwell reaches the wire, cuts a gap with wire cutters carried for the purpose. He crawls through, stands again, continues. At 20 yards from the first bunker, he pulls a Mk2 fragmentation grenade, yanks the pin, waits 2 seconds, and tosses it through the embrasure. The explosion echoes inside, smoke pours out. He steps to the side entrance. Thompson ready. For Germans stumble out, hands raised, coughing. One lies dead inside. Treadwell motions them back toward American lines. Go, he says. They obey, staggering past him. He does not stop. He moves to the second pillbox, 50 yards farther. Again the grenades, one through the slit, one at the door. Another burst of Thompson fire into the opening. More smoke, more screams. 3 Germans emerge. Hands up. Treadwell sends them rearward, collects their weapons, keeps going. The third and fourth bunkers fall in the same way. He alternates grenades and short bursts from the Thompson .45 ACP rounds, punching through the firing slits, forcing occupants to duck or die. Each time he reaches a position, he forces surrender or kills those who resist. Prisoners, now 7, are sent back under his gesture alone. No one escorts them. The Germans comply. By the 5th bunker, the Germans are aware. Fire concentrates on him. MG-42 bursts stitch the snow around his feet. A sniper's round clips his helmet, knocking it sideways. He keeps moving. Grenade in. Thompson burst. Surrender. 4 more prisoners. The 6th pillbox sits slightly higher, commanding the slope. Treadwell approaches under heavier fire. A German machine gunner spots him clearly. Bullets whip past. One grazes his arm, drawing blood. He does not slow. At the embrasure, he empties a magazine into the opening, tosses his last grenade inside. The explosion silences the gun. 2 Germans crawl out, wounded, hands raised. In less than an hour, 6 pillboxes are cleared. 18 German prisoners march rearward under the eyes of Fox Company. The bunkers stand silent, smoke drifting from their slits. Treadwell stands at the last position, Thompson slung, blood on his sleeve, breathing hard. The slope is quiet. His company rises from cover, advances past the shattered defenses. No other Americans were killed after he began the assault. The path is open. He arrives as Treadwell reaches the final bunker. By now, the Germans know exactly who he is. A lone figure in olive drab walking through their fire, grenades exploding inside their positions, prisoners streaming back. The 6th pillbox's MG-42 gunner tracks him openly. Tracers converge. One round strikes his helmet, spinning it off. Another grazes his arm, tearing cloth and skin. Blood runs down his sleeve, but he does not drop. He closes the last 30 yards under point-blank fire. The gunner ducks too. Reload. Treadwell sprints, the final gap. He fires a burst from the Thompson through the embrasure. .45 rounds ricochet inside concrete. Forcing heads down, he pulls his last grenade, counts to beats, lobs it through the slit. The blast shakes the structure. Dust and smoke billow. Silence. Follows. Treadwell kicks the steel door open. 2 Germans lie wounded on the floor, hands up. A third is dead. He motions them out. They crawl into the open air. Surrendered complete. He stands atop the bunker, scanning the line. No more fire comes. The interlocking fields are broken. Fox Company moves forward, first in cautious steps, then faster as the Germans fall back. Treadwell waves them on, then turns to the prisoners he had sent earlier. 18 Germans stand in a loose group, guarded now by his men who have caught up. Rifles and machine guns are collected from the bunkers. The assault lasted under an hour. 6 pillboxes neutralized. 18 prisoners taken. No further American losses in the crossing. Treadwell's arm wound is bandaged on the spot, superficial, but bleeding steadily. He refuses evacuation until the position is consolidated. Witnesses. His platoon sergeant. Riflemen who watched from the rise later describe it in after-action reports. 1 man walking through fire that had killed 8 others, methodically clearing each position, forcing surrender rather than needless killing when possible. The Medal of Honor citation captures it. Single-handedly assaulted 6 enemy killed or captured the occupants, enabled his company to continue the advance. The lesson is stark. Fortified positions that seem impregnable can be cracked by individual initiative. When combined arms stall, Treadwell did not rely on overwhelming force. He used precision, courage, and the psychological impact of a lone attacker who would not stop. Grenades to stun, submachine gun to clear.com orders to prisoners. Each bunker fell because the defenders saw no escape from the men coming for them. The Siegfried Line was not broken that day by artillery or tanks alone. It was breached by one lieutenant who refused to let his company remain pinned. The advance continued. The war moved forward. First Lieutenant Jack L. Treadwell stood on the roof of the 6th pillbox as the echoes of gunfire faded across the snowy slope near Nieder-Wurzbach on March 18, 1945. Smoke drifted from the firing slits of the concrete bunkers he had cleared one by one. Below him, the open ground that had claimed 8 American lives earlier in the morning now lay quiet. 18 German prisoners shuffled rearward in a loose column, hands raised, escorted by men from Fox Company who had finally risen from cover and advanced past the shattered defenses. Treadwell's arm bled steadily from the grazing wound. His helmet sat crooked where a sniper's round had spun it. Grenade fragments had nicked his hands, but he felt none of it in that moment. He simply watched as his company moved forward, past the barbed wire he had cut, past the dragon's teeth, into the gap he had opened alone. The Siegfried Line, for this small sector at least, had been breached. He did not shout orders or claim victory. He walked down from the bunker, Thompson still slung across his chest, and rejoined his men. Medics patched his arm on the spot. He refused evacuation until the position was secure and the prisoners accounted for. Only then did he allow himself to be led to the rear for proper treatment. Word of the assault spread quickly through the 45th Division. Soldiers who had watched from the rise spoke of it in low voices. One officer walking upright through fire that had pinned a company. Grenades exploding inside bunkers. Germans coming out with hands up time after time. No Hollywood charge. No dramatic speeches. Just a steady, relentless advance that ended the stalemate. The Medal of Honor citation would later record it without flourish. Single-handedly assaulted 6 enemy, killed or forced the surrender of the occupants, captured 18 prisoners, enabled his company to continue the advance. It was one of the more straightforward accounts of individual valor in the European theater, no exaggeration needed. When the facts were already extraordinary, Treadwell survived the war, rose to the rank of captain, returned home, and lived out his years in relative quiet. He rarely spoke of that morning unless asked directly. When he did, it was matter of fact. The men were dying. Someone had to move, so he moved. His name appears now in the annals of the 180th Infantry Regiment, in books on the Siegfried Line campaign, and among the recipients of the nation's highest award for valor. He rests in a cemetery far from the frozen slopes of Germany, among others who fought and lived, or fought and did not. The story endures not as a tale of superhuman strength, but as proof of what happens when one person refuses to accept that a position cannot be taken. 6 bunkers, 18 prisoners, 1 man walking through fire. The numbers are stark. The outcome simple. The line held by concrete was broken by will. The advance continued. The war moved closer to its end. In war, fortified walls and interlocking fires seem unbreakable until someone decides they are not. Treadwell decided, and because he did, lives were saved, ground was gained, and a small piece of history was written in snow and smoke. I've just said what's recorded in history. You should find out the real truth yourself. We have written the sources from which we got this story in the description of this video, and we have always been and will be supporters of the oppressed, regardless of their color, race, or country. This world and its creator are also with the oppressed. If this story of one man breaking an impregnable line hit you hard, smash that like button. Share your thoughts in the comments. What would you have done in his place? And subscribe for more forgotten World War II stories that deserve to be remembered. Hit the bell so you catch the next WWII story.